something to be feared.
Absolutely. I really like this. Vanar was about as obvious as it could possibly be, but it's just a really well-rounded draft here on T1 side, so you're not exactly going to be waving any fingers. As soon as that Corki Caitlyn was locked in, it was pretty much autopilot from there, and honestly, it feels pretty standard. That being said, there is a lot to be interested in when it comes to Live Sandbox. I think the Hecarim is really, really cool, and Croco, empowered by the Yuumi, this is like one of those moments where it's Hecarim, you know how he can just run a million screens away from his team? At least now he will have one teammate with him. You know? Guaranteed.
It's, yeah, Yuumi Hecarim, especially if the Hecarim can get a little bit of a lead either in farm or in terms of kills early on, can be devastating to play into, right? They synergize incredibly well, the extra skirmishing, the speed up that gets converted into AD, and I think that, especially on the bot side of the map, there's going to be a lot of pressure available, as well as that counter matchup in the top side. But I do think that if Liv Sandbox get an early lead, the composition of T1 can run into issues that is fairly squishy, and the Gnar can be a bit finicky in the team fights without a primary form of engage.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be excited about when it comes to looking at Liv Sandbox's draft as a whole. But when you put it up against what is pretty much like half the tier list, it's very, very frightening. FAKER's Corki has been very, very strong, and Gumi Ishikaria on Caitlyn Lux against a rookie bottom lane feels about as unfair as it can be. It's real rough. So we'll like to see Croco spend some time there towards the bottom side of the map. And here we are on the Rift for game number 1. Liv Sandbox taking on T1. I remember back to summer 2021. Was this not the last match of the regular season that T1 lost? Was it against Liv Sandbox? Or was that
no, that was Prince with the...
Yeah. Good old Prince.
Aww.
Yeah, he was actually very, very good.
He was a very emotional player. You could see him really taking his losses to heart, and I hope we get him.
I hope he comes back. He was playing for a very, very long time, so you could understand him wanting to take a bit of time off. Don't know where he's at the moment. Might have just left Korea, but he's definitely not here in the LCK. Closer and Faker just facing off here in the mid lane. Do you reckon Victor Corki is the new Corki Azir from old times? Of the most boring mid lane matchup possible?
Yeah, it's going to continue for a fair amount of time as well, because we are, of course, not quite close to patch 12.3, which is the first patch that's really going to be influenced by competitive play, and where I am hopefully going to see some Corki nerfs, because while I think that Victor, while strong, in of itself isn't really choking out the rest of the meta, Corki is. He is not good, or by which I mean way too good.
Yeah.
So he's not good for the game.
He's not good for the game, yeah.
No. As champions that scale that hard probably should need a little bit more time before they actually become a big threat. And as mentioned previously, Gumayushi and Keria expected to really take the priority and the overall control of this lane, and Kael needs to play very respectful, because we saw what happens otherwise yesterday when Lahans, who is a great Yuumi player by the way, got a little bit overexcited.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about that series ever again. I think that's absolutely fine. We can talk about the third game. That one was good. The rest of it, not so much. Is Keria just going to stand up here, threatening the light binding? Which he absolutely can. You could see the early laning phase was actually okay for Liv Sandbox as far as trades were concerned, because Keria decided to take more pushing power. And now this is the result, right? You've got T1 bearing down on the turret, exactly the place that Caitlyn wants to be.
What we are seeing though, and is that Croco is pathing towards that bot side. They should be aware of this. Both junglers making their way over, and here you see some of the advantages that the Hecarim has. Now, farm junglers have been nerfed considerably, right? It's not the meta that we had a year ago, where they were incredibly strong. It was Udyr and Hecarim running amok with Camtank. You need to have a bit more of an impact. Just auto-farming the jungler, I think, isn't going to provide as much as it has in the past.
Yep.
Owner, though, by skipping in camp, still going to be very much early on. And now providing some support. Could look for a dive here if Karia's feeling confident about his bindings.
Yeah, I think it depends on you and me timings and things like that. But instead, just going to go down towards the bottom side, setting up for a potential counter gank so that Gumayushi and Keria can do exactly this. And I actually really like that. It's the less risky play. And you can just make sure that things are continuing to go exactly the way they're supposed to. As Croco's going to be able to take a Rift Scuttler there in the top side of the map. And we'll look for a little bit of a back, not going to be stealing away anything or going for any invades. One camp advantage there for the horse, which is to be expected. And you say that, you know, farm junglers aren't necessarily as popular as Ice. Going to get bound up here. Peacemaker comes on in. Slight cancel of an auto there, but Gumayusi certainly sending the correct message there. And the T1 bottom lane continues to be good. But as I was going to say, okay, never mind. Zeus looking for a bit of a trade here towards the top side. Dove, absolutely no mana. Does have flash, so isn't going to die, but losing out on this trade. So as I was going to say... Oh, never mind. FAKER taking a bit of damage there in the mid lane.
Okay, now you can.
Yeah, and as I was going to say, Hecarim is a farm animal as a horse, and therefore is probably more allowed to farm. It's got a flash forward, and that is first blood solo kill to Closer. Oh my goodness, Ona not going to be able to trade that one back, as now Croco coming in towards the top side as well. Zeus is just going to have to die. Doesn't want to give over the assist to Croco. And I wasn't even allowed to say it. I still said it and I got punished. Damn, T1 also absolutely punished here in this early game, outside of here on the bottom side.
And it's that bottom side that actually turns out to be a saving grace, because with both those kills going over, there is still a slight lead, or there's a very slight lead now for Liv Sandbox, about 1-200 gold, because of this bot lane pressure, but a lot of things happening there at once. And that is, I'm sure, as Closer, a kill that, regardless of the outcome of this game,
the amount of catharsis of that kill cannot be measured. No. I don't think any of us can understand how good that would have felt.
No. As if you look at the history, right, Closer being heralded as like one of the most talented, hyped up rookies, up and comers, playing behind FAKER and then never really getting off the ground, then spotting this gank by Ona and just flashing in.
Yeah, it was a little bit greedy.
Yeah, FAKER just walking in range. As this is one of the reasons why you always have to respect the Dragon. It's nicely done by Zeus, because I think that an assist on Croco would have been fine, but actually giving over a kill to the Hecarim this early would have been disastrous. Oh, Closer. Not again.
Yeah, it's not so good. As he's going to get the stuns up, and there's the flash forward, misses the Q. The T1 once again. Closer just outplaying him.
Really nice sidestep, and the attention not actually paying off. And this is, I think, as Liv Sandbox, as good of a start as you could possibly hope for.
Absolutely.
Barring that bot lane, getting gold on Closer, who has been the mid laner with one of the highest damage shares within the league. Again, that's not necessarily a good stat for the team, but it does say a lot about how Closer is playing, right?
Yeah, and also how much his team relies on Closer to do well also. Because if you have a look at some of Closer's other stats, he's actually behind in gold a lot of the time and things like this. As Ona going to throw out the Q, does spot that his red buff is being taken. And Croco is just going to bail. Bit of a push here on the bottom side as Carrier looking for a little bit. No Lee Sin in the area as Light Binding's going to go wide. Peacemaker, a lot of damage just with the edge onto Ice. And T1 just going to reassert themselves here on the bottom side.
And that's to be expected. And that is something that T1 is now also somewhat relying on. As Carrier going forward.
Yeah, Light Binding connects again, and that's the cleanse. That was almost flashable for Gumayusi, but doesn't want to relinquish control of this lane. Of course, flash very important to have, especially up against the Hecarim.
And that's the crazy thing, right? He doesn't need to flash because, yeah, getting a kill is nice there, but you know what's even better is shoving another non-cannon wave straight into that turret, getting up another plate and getting further and further ahead on this Caitlyn. Actually utilize, or keeping the flash means that you can also be much farther up without being nearly as scared. The rest of the map, though, T1 needs to play respectful as Croco Ghosts.
Yeah, that is going to be the Q landing onto Closer. There's the kickback, special delivery, and it's actually Ona that locks down the kill. Croco now taking a lot of damage from FAKER, but it's a 1-for-1 in the end. You'll take that if you're a Sandbox fan, as here on the bottom side, Gumayusi to get some damage down onto Kale. Ice, the bottom block, helping keep the bottom lane of Liv Sandbox alive, but CS margins certainly not looking all that healthy.
And I gotta say, as Carrier...
Binding comes on in, Carrier's in trouble as Ice also almost dead. The exhaust comes through onto Gumayusi, and he does have Ace in the hole, but I don't think has vision right now onto the Jhin, so isn't going to pull that trigger.
Personally, I would have loved to see something like a Sivir. Something with enough wave clear that left alone in the lane, you can just keep perma clearing. You never actually engage because you have the Yumi, right? Like, there's no need for you to actually try and play the lane.
I really like Sivir Yumi just in general.
Yeah,
it can
and
be very frustrating for the poke as well.
It counteracts the poke, but the main thing to me is that, especially if you go for the lethality build, you pick up an early tier, you can indefinitely keep clearing waves and you avoid this exact situation. Because Gumayusi and Carry are playing this lane expertly, right? Just permanently shoving. As long as they're aware of where Croco is, continuously trading, and Ice and Kao, they're kind of hanging on. But the reason why the gold lead is still in favor of T1, because of this bot lane.
Yeah, Zumi's come on in there as there's the flash out from Ice. Ace in the hole can't be flashed. However, there is at least some sustain there. Kale holds on to his heal for now as FAKER delivers a package to Closer. And Closer says, I didn't really want this. That's fine.
It's not my bad. I didn't order this.
Yeah, exactly. Need to send it back. Delivery service normally fantastic here in Korea, but that one is not what he wanted.
Yeah, now he has to go to his neighbor, like knock with time, like, is this your package?
Yeah, yeah.
It's not great. What is great, while all of this has been happening, is that Zeus, despite that early gank he didn't see coming, has still made great use of the laning power that is provided by the Gnar into the Gragas, even with Dove going for a more laning-oriented build, using the Comet and also going for the Everfrost. Has actually built him up a sizable CS lead, so that deficit actually doesn't exist on top side. Nope. Has basically been completely mitigated by Zeus' laning and making use of that Gnar counter pick in a way that we know isn't necessarily a given. And now T1 starting up this Herald.
Yeah, and they should be able to use this Herald to move towards the top side, give Gumayusi even more plates. He already has 4 under his belt. That's like 4 dinners without having to do any dishes. Very, very good. It's T1. Gonna have to deal with the fact that Croco is there. He does have the ulti available, but he's gonna get bound. Dove now looking for an opportunity. Zeus still charging up the Narbar as in goes Croco. The curtains are being called as well as they take down Gumayusi to start this one off. Owner is going to survive, but Zeus is still massive in the backline. That's a double kill on both of the tanks as Kale's running for the hills and the Q will connect. There's the kick flash as Owner's not done yet, and the 4 of them are mopped up. Closer is the only one that remains.
And what was a nice start of the fight for Liv Sandbox. It's T1 that stands victorious in the end. Zeus absolutely clinching that team fight there with a beautiful stun that we're going to be looking at later toward the replay. They got the Herald as well, and although it was a nice early start from Liv Sandbox, I'm pretty sure they're going to feel a lot less good after seeing the results of that. More plates towards the mid lane. And yeah, you give up Gumayusi, but I think by the end of that, T1, you don't really care.
Yep, let's have a look at this one more time as T1 get themselves situated. And I really like this from Liv Sandbox. They focus on Gumayusi. They notice that he's the one that's doing a lot of the work in this early game. But if you drop the ball on what Zeus is doing, it's still not going to end up all that good.
And what happens there is that Croco walks onto a trap that was laid by Gumayusi. Because if Croco paths towards the south, he might get picked off, right, by Carrier, by Owner. So he tries to path back, get away from the fight. And he would have been able to. He's a hacker in with a Yumi on top of him, and the first part of the fight shows why it's such a deadly combo. But then... Yep. It's just beautifully executed and really showcasing, again, that the best of Gnars, they need good control of when that Gnar bar is ready, and Zeus had his ready at just the right time to get a big, effectively 2-man, but you know, KL was there as well. So stun and win that team fight. T1 feeling a lot better. Owner here on bot side again has Dragon's Rage available.
Very sneaky as there's the final chapter. They are trying to bait this one in as Gumayushi's going to flash, get himself out of the way. Onslaught comes on in as Croco gets rid of Gumayusi from this fight. Closes come down though, so the man advantage there for Liv Sandbox. The kickback not really going to do too much as Gumayushi's doing some alcove gaming that he really does not want to. Wants to get a kill back onto Croco, but will fail to do so as Liv Sandbox clean up a couple of kills with their man advantage bot lane.
And what I'm loving here from Sandbox is try to keep this a high-tempo game. Don't give T1 the opportunity. Keep fighting with Croco. Try to get that horse as fat as you possibly can. Keep using the power of their Yumi. And even with T1 being the one that was setting up a trap there, it's Liv Sandbox that finds a little bit more of an edge. But overall, we still see that T1, when it comes to actual plays, when it comes to shoving, when it comes to CS and objectives, they are the ones that are firmly heading ahead. Although, it's 30 minutes in and we haven't seen a single Drake yet.
Yeah, no one actually looking towards the Dragons whatsoever.
Just fight.
Yeah.
Drakes are irrelevant if you can just fight each other.
That's exactly right. As Croco's running forward for even more fighting, Chronicler, and he's just going to walk past Faker. The flash comes in, but he waits for it. It doesn't really matter. He is just going to helicopter down the man in the helicopter. Very unfortunate. His machine working against him, and Owner just going to have to watch as they do exactly what they want. Okay, Final Spark comes on in, but not going to be doing too much damage here as the support lines.
Can't really fault Faker for that one.
I know.
Like
the horse is just running too fast.
You're Corki with Flash and Valkyrie available, and you just get run down. And there is a reason why this man on the horse was the Rookie of the Year, right? Liv Sandbox's team, without a doubt, has suffered a lot, but he is a fed hacker in with a Yuumi on top. And that is not going to be something. Like, plays like this are just not going to have the same impact because his health bar goes up immediately. T1, though, again, while all of this is happening, while these kills keep coming through, T1 is the one that actually picks up the plates, the objectives. Look at the health bars of all those T1 turrets. They're looking pristine, Atlas.
Yeah.
And Liv Sandbox base already battered, slowly getting taken down as first turret blood going to drop here further, growing that gold lead for T1.
Yeah, this is the problem, right? You look at the gold score and you're like, wow, T1 have had a really stable and comfortable early game. And if you had a look at the gameplay, you're probably like, oh, no, maybe not. But it is just far better homework done around this map. The Rift Herald utilized fantastically well, and the fact that Carrier and Gumushi exist there on the bottom side is just providing so much. As Owner goes in onto Ice here, just caught in transition. Croco, he's booking it. Let's see where he is going to go. The Q is going to come through, and Owner is caught between a rock and a hard place and a horse, as Faker is there, and so he's going to be able to get some helicopter revenge against Croco.
So I wonder which build Croco is going for as Dove.
Yeah, that's a great double body slam as immediately the Valkyrie does have to come through. Faker's out of the fight, but can they find any more is going to be the question. The answer is yes on T1 side. They couldn't kill the mid laner, and Gumushi mops it up.
And here T1 using great, or really showcasing that, yes, Liv Sandbox, your skirmishes are scary, and you found a couple of nice fights, but if we know that you're coming, if we have the time to actually set up, can't just run into us. There's bindings, there's traps, there's Zeus, who again plays a huge role as a deterrent there. And this time around, Liv Sandbox not actually able to find another one of those skirmishes. I'm glad we're getting this. This doesn't feel very fair.
I'm still going, I'm still going, I'm still going. He was. Nicely played there by Croco.
Extra little shields, and we did see Carrier making his way over. And while this starts out nicely as Dove, because he doesn't have the cask.
Oh, the binding.
Yeah. Carrier really saving that one. And the rest of the team, they knew this was happening, right? Like, they knew they were setting up for a possible engage, and everyone was there. So if there was a cask, I think maybe they could have knocked back and traded a little bit better.
Do you think that's enough control wards in that brush?
No. No, I need more.
You're going to need 5. So that's the maximum. Zona taken down to about half health here. He's going to flash, get himself out of the way. Onslaught of Shadows does basically nothing, as that's a big Gnar onto 3 into the wall. Back goes Owner, and he's actually going to be able to get the kill onto Dove and make it out. Now Carrier and Gumushi trying to lock down the remaining members, and Closer not going to have anywhere to go. Kale as well is now just a cat by itself. And that is definitely not good news as T1 look to take down Shirley as well. And man, I don't know how this game has turned into such a snowball, but T1 have done it.
It is the continuous reward of actually playing better around the wave state. Yes, in terms of skirmishes, and this is what we said coming into this game. Liv Sandbox can match up to T1, as we're going to look at a tragic fight that happens here. Look at the lack of coordination here between Dove and Croco. That is an onslaught of shadows being thrown into a target that was already knocked away by the explosive cask. And that is, I think, the biggest issue that Liv Sandbox is facing here, which is that the synergy just isn't quite there, right? And we do see these nice fights, we do see these skirmishes, but as mentioned repeatedly, T1s were the ones who basically permanently had to shove everywhere. T1s were the ones who build up CS leads over the course of the entire game. Zeus also picking up a call, right? All these little things started to snowball and snowball. And then, once T1 had actually hit their spikes, as we've seen now, and they are ready for Sandbox, and it's a straight up 5v5, and the situation kind of changes.
Certainly does. Level advantage there for Zeus, almost 100% of a level. And this Gnar is just way too huge. Steric's gauge complete, as well as the Divine Sunderer. And I just don't see where it gets better for Liv Sandbox unless Dove and Croco get themselves actually coordinated. Ona's just going to safeguard his way out there. And you're not going to trample your way in on that one, Croco, unfortunately.
Trample. Nice.
Horse puns. Woohoo! It's definitely the most fun about having Hecarim in the game is Gumayusi. He's going to get prowled. Otherwise, he's going to be okay. Dove moves on in, spots 2 of what were 3 control wards, and eliminates 1 of them. Vision feeling very immovable there in that brush. His carrier going to get slowed down, going to have to flash. Himself out of the way is FAKER looking for some rockets here onto all 5 members of Liv Sandbox. Zeus just going to take this turret. He does have the teleport available as well, so if T1 keep them interested, he's just going to get even more from this one. FAKER makes his way back to the turret though. T1 are getting corralled as Liv Sandbox look for this Drake. Will even out the Drakes. Nice, takes a bit of damage there from T1, and I think with Shirley, T1 will be able to grab themselves an inner turret, and maybe one on the top side of the map as well in trade for this Drake, if that's what Liv Sandbox keep looking for. Is, oh my goodness, all of the long-range damage comes on in, and Ice is just out of this one. No real opportunities whatsoever.
That's T1. While all this is happening, Zeus is completely fine, just pushing in the top. So yeah, I'm okay. Maganar's about up, guys, so just don't fight right now, and has it available.
Yep.
And they're going to get both. As I say that, the rest of the team, and the cavalry's coming for Zeus, so he...
This is not like cake and eat it too. This is cake and then deliver to cake factory as well. It's like, yes, you can have a cake, but here, also have the factory to make yourself cakes all the time if you would like.
Why not a
Just too much. T1 taking everything.
Why not a bakery instead of a factory? I'd rather have a bakery cake as opposed to a factory one.
Yeah, I think I've maybe been to too many of those cake
like
shops here in Korea that are just boxes of cakes upon boxes of cakes. There's a lot of cakes in this place, and they're not from bakeries necessarily.
No. I understand your confusion.
Yes, I apologize.
It's okay. It's okay.
Definitely a little colloquial. I've been here too long, perhaps, or not long enough.
Yeah, I think either works, and we do see now T1 being very cognizant of the limits they need to play within, right? And for Liv Sandbox, can be really hard as Ice. Every time he tries to move up, there is someone ready. Both Zeus and Carrier, I think, having just a splendid game thus far, with the amount of pressure they've been able to dish out.
Yeah.
And previously to that move there by T1, where they just very calmly said, we don't need to go for Drake. We can just shove, forming a response from this Sandbox. But with the knowledge, with the vision, with the setup, they're completely fine. The one thing that T1 needs to avoid at all costs, and what I expect, because thus far they've been doing that, is overextending and allowing Dove to flank, right? Because if at any point there's a deep ward or Croco gets into the back line.
Yeah, FAKER holding onto his flash though, as they're going to set themselves up. That is a fantastic gravity field as FAKER will get taken down, and that is just a swift pick-off. FAKER not wanting to use the flash.
Yeah.
As here on the bottom side, Dove doing a bit of damage there to Zeus, but I don't think too much is going to come of it. Oh my goodness, Zeus does so much damage on this Gnar, and we'll have bigger form of Gnar coming up pretty soon. I don't know why I didn't want to say Mega Gnar there, but I didn't. It's one of those things. T1 just going to send the cavalry down, but Dove is not here any longer.
As I was saying, you need to respect. You're in a really good spot, but you also have a lineup that is overall still very squishy. Yeah, Zeus and Owner are good off-tanks. If Zeus actually has Mega Gnar available, then he's going to be hard to focus down. But the rest of that team...
This is not where Ice wants to be, as the Q is going to connect, and Owner, yeah, shouldn't have too much trouble dealing with this. Flashes after him, gets the kick, Q's going to land, and Owner will pick it up so easily. FAKER fighting against Closer here, and right now Closer is winning out. Minion wave is what FAKER's really concerned about, though, as the rest of T1 are rotating up. And Closer, you're going to have to do some pretty interesting shenanigans to get yourself out of this one. Killing FAKER is definitely a decent move, as yes, the TP could also work. Owner doesn't have his kick, and he's just going to see whether he can get himself a kill. Instead, he flashes, Final Spark comes in, and Closer's just dead. So there are a few things that could have happened, but they didn't, as Gumayusi now trying to throw out some autos onto the horse. The horse just canters away gloriously.
And Liv Sandbox, kind of what we were worried about as they get later and later into the game, starting to fall apart a little bit. People getting picked off left, right, not having the control they need. As, yeah, that was an unfortunate Valkyrie, followed by not flashing, even though they definitely should have for FAKER, and then Ona just... There's a lot of vision here, right? So you feel relatively safe as Ice, but the reality of the situation is you're not. 3 of your members are on bot side, and your mid laner is also in complete no man's land, trying to get the cheeky kill on FAKER, and the play on bot side didn't even work out. Zeus just looks at it and said, okay, and then sauntered off and didn't really care about what happened. And now the gold lead is getting insurmountable.
Yeah, I was going to use that word as well. It's one that certainly would apply to this game. That being said, you know, we've seen 6,000 gold surmounted before. Sure, I'm allowed to say that.
Nothing is insurmountable.
Well, I mean, you say that after saying that it's almost insurmountable.
Well, almost, but nothing is the truth. We are the creators of our own reality, Atlas. If we just believe enough and T1 walk again, 3-4 men strong into a gravity field by closer, then anything is possible.
That's true. And Crocker's a horse. He's definitely mountable, you know?
No. We've hit a quota of horse months, Atlas. Come on.
Absolutely have not. Hecarim's in the game. It is definitely no holes barred. It's okay. Ona lands a Q, not wanting to go in onto the Hecarim, you would assume. Zeus off to the side. Half a Naba is halfway towards being able to engage, potentially. FAKER off to the side, looking for some potential rockets over the top. Sprocko dives forward, and T1 kind of getting corralled into a position that Live Sandbox want them. Mid control is at least there. But the Mountain Drake is what T1 are looking for. Mountain Soul Point will be available. Close it down to 50% health, and FAKER just, if he lands these rockets, it is danger zone as Zeus looks for his opportunity. Can't quite get a decent position. His flash is available though, and Live Sandbox are respecting it. It's exactly how they need to play this. Wait out the Naba, and then try again. The T1 move over towards this Drake, and they should be able to take it with the position of Live Sandbox. It's just if they can take a Baron or something like that being the question. With a Jhin, I just don't think it's ever going to work.
The only champion that does decent damage is the Victor, right? The rest of them not going to bring you what you need. Is Crocko.
Didn't even know what he was looking for there.
No.
As Gumayushi just wanders his way out. He's like, sorry.
Never mind.
Yep. Soul Point now goes over to T1. It's more cakes and cake factories and eating it too and things like that. As FAKER looks to take down the Raptor camp. It's been a bit of a slower game here for FAKER in this one, but the beauty of this T1 is that FAKER isn't required to be the hard carry every single game as it has been in other years. Because as we saw, like, he gets killed in the mid lane, but the bottom lane is absolutely dominating. Zeus dies towards the top lane, but it does not matter. He's still able to outlane the situation and then perform in the subsequent fight. There's just a lot of potential carries here on T1. You need to be aware of absolutely everyone. Zeus now actually on a face check here just...
Para crecer son necesarias dos cosas. Alguien que quiera hacerlo y alguien que lo haga posible. Si Carla necesita poner en práctica lo aprendido, nosotros le damos laboratorios de última generación para complementar su aprendizaje. Si Julio necesita aprender de los mejores profesionales, nosotros le ofrecemos docentes expertos que destacan en su campo. Si tú quieres crecer, nosotros lo hacemos posible. Elige la Wiener. 25 años confiando en ti.
Just a little bit. Crocko and Dove not wanting to even fight it. They're like, this guy is too strong. Crush comes out, and the explosive cast comes on in. Ona looks for an opportunity as Dove is the target that they're looking for. Blast Cone gets FAKER over there, and oh my god, the damage. Zeus going to finish that one off. Onslaught of Shadows used defensively is the worst feeling for a Hecarim player. And T1 think this is their opportunity for the Baron, and look, I would agree with them.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Sandbox, it is, at this point in the game, looking for weird angles, trying to catch people off guard, but T1, they are not foiled by such tactics. They stick to the goal, and the goal is an easy Baron, making that goal lead even bigger and bigger, and we're starting to see some other mistakes, right? Closer going for a Shadow Flame second there. Now he's building towards Void, but with the limited amount of penetration that you have, and some magic resist on the side of T1, not going to feel super good about that one. And then on the flips, especially with that mountain involved, right? And then T1 is now just going to be able to siege everywhere at the same time. And I don't know if there's any flank that can help out Live Sandbox here. They don't have the wave clear. Not necessary either, because the poke from T1 It's devastating. Faker doesn't even have his Ludens yet.
Do you know what's looming here, Chronicler? Gigantic wallets. Absolutely massive, massive wallets. As T1, I mean, I don't think itemization is even necessary. When you have 1/3 of the items of your opposition, you're probably not going to do so well.
Yes.
And it's sort of irrespective of what item choices have been put down there. So a little bit of a shame as Croco thinks he's found Faker yet again. Goes for a little bit of a Valkyrie and then discovers he is really dead. And he's just going to get picked off. A little bit unfortunate.
Unfortunate situation, as you pointed out. Not the best game for Faker. It happens, but the beauty of the T1 roster is that it doesn't really matter. As Croco also showcasing again this Hecarim Yuumi. I would not mind to see this combo again.
I actually think it's really cool.
Yeah.
But this ain't it, right? Like,
oh, this is, no, I don't want to talk about this. That's why I'm talking about the Hecarim being a nice...
In live, something
nice
that we might actually... Okay, no. It's the horse in the Thunderdome, not exactly where he wants to be, and he's just going to get taken down. Carrier explodes on the backline, though, as Closer is very scary. Gumayusi flashes into ice, and that's a target that he actually wants to try and fight. Not going to be able to do so, though, as Zeus is the one tidying up. Owner's here as well. No one to safeguard, though, and he is going to... Oh, God, the boulder toss is just too much damage. And now it is Owner and Zeus looking for this opportunity. His Closer's like, oh, God, I don't know what I'm going to be able to do here, but... Doesn't have a kick. It doesn't actually matter. He's got a Q, and that is going to complete the ace. A messy fight for T1, but as we mentioned, the state of the wallets is more what's doing the talking.
When inhibitors are down, messy fights, as long as they are relatively even, are good enough. You know, you'll take it.
5? I think Faker was
Oh,
not
no,
there
Faker
for the
was not
whole
there at all.
time.
Yeah. No. Because what I assume happened is, as we can see here, again, like I think mechanically nicely started off there. Carrier, unfortunately, not able to get quite as much done, but now you're a Hecarim stuck in a pit without your ultimate, and it's really Closer that really saves it and is able to do so much damage here. Kael with the very unfortunate pathing away from the rest of his team, which as Yuumi is very much a death sentence, even more so than for the usual sports. Zeus says no one gets away from the boulder, and now
to the face.
Yeah. It's not even a boulder. That was the factory right there.
Yeah, he threw the cake. They didn't even need the cake factory. They've eaten so much cake they don't want any. And it's just Zeus throwing the factory all over the place. Oh my goodness. To have that much cake. What would it feel like?
It's beautiful. So, 10k gold, and there's a Drake, but we can also fight in jungle.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a great idea. As 10 seconds until the Mountain Soul is available for T1, and they just say, Live Sandbox, I'm sorry, you're just not going to come with us. And I think they're going to have to oblige. Zeus throws out the ult for fun. It's on basically no cooldown, though. As Carrier misses the binding, Croco getting taken down relatively low. It is going to be the Mountain Soul, but can Live Sandbox find themselves a hero fight? Closer getting closed in on here. Gravity Field is decent, good light binding, but no follow-up. Croco's able to trot his way out. Q doesn't connect. Earn a strong thought. That one might happen, as there it is, the kickback onto Closer, and they do manage to secure it. Oh my goodness, they can't even get the kill onto Owner here, as Faker once again is going to fall down. Dove up towards the top side, but just too weak to make his way out. Wanted to get the snipe onto Carrier, but the shields are just too big. And we've just got a teleport from Zeus. He's like, yeah, no, I'm kind of finished with this game. And he's going to look to take down these Nexus turrets. The rest of Live Sandbox are scattered to the wind. And Zeus now with a few more autos will be able to do it. Throws a house around as Croco has managed to make it back. And they haven't even done any damage to Zeus yet. Can he actually get the work done, as there's a good stun into the wall. Ice will get taken down as Gumayusi does so much work. If he puts a couple of autos into this Nexus, it's game over, but we're going to see if we can get a couple of kills before that one happens. Gumayusi doesn't want to really fight a fountain laser, but it seems like the only one that can do as much damage as him, and he'll settle for the Nexus. T1 managed to take down Live Sandbox in the end.
Individually, we saw some issues left and right by T1, and I think a valiant effort that was given here by Live Sandbox, but I never really got the feeling that they were close to actually breaking T1.
No, it was that feeling of inevitability that has happened with T1 and SKT in the past, right? It's like, yes, we managed to get, like, the memory of Dumbledore comes back, you know, getting that kill for first